The following program is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is being broadcast statewide on California Public Television. This series has been endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association.
California's Gold is provided to the PBS network statewide through a grant from Wells Fargo Bank, coming through for Californians for over 135 years.
Hi, I'm Huell Howser, and in case your television screen is looking a little dark right now, don't worry about it. It should be looking a little dark, because it is dark. In fact, I'm standing out here on the beach in the ocean, and it's 10 o'clock at night. Now, the reason I'm out here on the beach at night is to kind of set the stage, set the mood for tonight's program. Because you see, both of the segments in this program take place at night. Now, if you'd like to come along with me on this adventure, which I call Things That Crawl in the Night, if you're brave enough, grab your flashlight and join me. And we'll continue our search together, this time in the dark, for California's gold. Our first adventure started about 9 o'clock at night as I arrived at the Carrizo Marine Museum in San Pedro, which is about 30 miles from downtown L.A. First off, I met Larry Fukuhara, the museum's program director, who then took me on a quick tour of the place. A wonderful museum full of all kinds of neat exhibits, like this tank where you can actually reach over and touch sea creatures like this starfish. Actually, this is a museum aquarium dedicated to promoting knowledge and awareness of the marine life of Southern California through recreational, educational, and research programs. There were lots of people at the museum on this particular night because this was the night we would hopefully see for ourselves a unique little silvery fish, a fish found only in Southern California and parts of Mexico. A fish which over the years has caused quite a commotion and captured the imagination of locals all up and down the coast. But before we could actually see the fish, we filed into the museum auditorium and watched a film that explained to us exactly why this fish is so special.
On certain nights during spring and summer months, sandy California beaches are the scene of a spectacular display put on by small silvery fish called grunion. By the thousands, these fish come out of the ocean to lay their eggs in the wet beach sand. Of all the fishes in the world, only grunion show such spawning habits. There is nothing very unusual about their appearance. They are just small silvery fish about 5 to 6 inches long. However, their breeding habits are most unusual. In addition, they can live out of water for over 20 minutes, much longer than their close relatives. Grunions spawn on sandy beaches along the Pacific coast, from Central California south into Baja California in Mexico. Another species occurs in the Gulf of California. Grunions spawn only on 3 or 4 nights following the new moon and full moon phases, and on these nights for only 2 or 3 hours after the time of high tide. As we look closer, we can see that some of the fish are burrowing into the soft sand, tail first. These are the females, who deposit their eggs about 2 inches below the surface of the sand. The males do not dig in, but curl their bodies around the female and deposit their milt next to her body. The milt flows down the side of the female to fertilize the eggs in the sand. When all her eggs are laid, she she flops or wiggles from side to side to free herself from the sand. After her task is finished, she wriggles toward the water or waits on the sand for a wave to carry her back into the ocean. The female starts to dig in only when there are male fish nearby. If no males are close, she returns to the ocean to come in again on a later wave.
Now that's interesting stuff. And I gotta tell you, after watching that film, we were all fired up. But there was more, because next we all gathered in the museum courtyard as Mark Toluto, the recreation assistant, got us into even more of a grunion mood by having us all imitate mating grunions.
Hop on the sand, everyone, hop on the sand. Now we're looking for a good location. We found it. Let's wiggle our way in the sand. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I can tell who does. Jane Fonda out there. Okay, you do, obviously. All right, now we're waiting in the sand. Now we're all going to be male grunions. Let's all be males. Very good. And let's swim out of the water like a male. Swim out of the water. Very, very good. Hop onto the sand. And look for a female, everyone. Do this, please. Look for a female. Now give her a big hug, just like this. Good. Okay, we've got children in the group. We're going to skip the next step, and the milk goes down the body. Okay, so wiggle out of the sand. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And they both hop back into the water. Hop back into the water with me. Very good. Give yourselves big hands. Excellent grunion. We're going to have a good grunion run tonight, hopefully.
Now this was all very scientific, because next they gave us little jars with grunion eggs in them. We added seawater and shook them around a little bit, and the agitation caused the eggs to hatch. And the little baby grunions started swimming around. Are your grunion hatching?
No.
Well, you have to keep shaking them. Are yours hatching?
Yeah, they did great.
Yeah, everybody's... Yours hatched?
Yeah.
Well, hold them up so we can show
I'm a father.
He's a father. Look at this, a whole crowd full of people hatching grunion over here. Look, here's a proud mother over here. Come over here a minute. Come here and share your joy of motherhood with us all.
Here they are. They look like their father.
Well, we could have stood there hatching grunion all night, but at long last, the big moment had arrived. It was time to walk across the street from the museum to outer Carrizo Beach and actually watch as real live grunion came ashore. Now, we're waiting out here on the beach for grunion.
Yes, we are right now. Hopefully, they're predicted to come up at 10:05, and so what we do now, this is the hardest thing.
It's 9:59 right now.
Yes. And they're predicted 10:05, and so what we do is we just wait. And this is the hardest thing to do, is to wait.
Well, it's hard for you because you're going to be really embarrassed.
Yes, I know. Pressure's on.
And we're not going to have a story.
We're very confident right now, so no problem. So 5 more minutes, no problem.
5 minutes and counting.
Yes.
For the grunion.
That's correct, 5 more minutes.
Larry, it's 10:15.
It is 10:15, you're right.
What's the deal here?
A lot of times, if you notice, grunions don't have their own watches. So I think that may be the problem. But, we just got to be patient, and we'll just see what happens here. Okay, we do have some grunions. There they are right now.
Oh, there they are.
Oh, there's the grunions. What time do we have? Oh, 11 o'clock, a little late, but we still do have them.
Now, there are only about 10 or 20 of them out there now.
Yeah.
Louis, let's put it back out there so we can take a look.
Now, this is just for us anyway. It's the beginning of the run, so usually just a few do come in. Sometimes even on a full-blown run maybe just look like this. Hopefully they will come up a little bit more, but at least we do have some. There's some more right there.
Oh, there they are. Look at that. Oh, yeah. She's down in the water. There she comes out. All right. What are you seeing out there?
We see them going in there and having babies.
Uh-huh.
They're pretty neat.
Oh, look, there's the mother right there. Look, we got it. Wow. What do you think about this?
This is amazing. I'm from Canada, and I've never even heard of this before.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just came by accident tonight almost.
Well, my friend told me about it. She says, oh, the grunion run is this weekend. And I said, the what? And so this is pretty amazing.
Yeah. There she is. Look at this. Wow.
When I was in elementary school, I remember seeing a film strip on grunions, and I was really interested in them, and I thought that was pretty neat, but never went down to the beach. I'm a California girl raised, never went down to the beach, saw the grunion. And then I've always kind of wanted to go to a grunion run and see a real grunion run with groups of people, and so I decided that this was the time to do it.
Well, you were at one tonight. There weren't large numbers of grunion, but we had fun anyway, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
What do you think people really do gain from this?
Well, I think it's, first of all, people hear about grunion and they don't believe fish come right out of the ocean. And it's the idea to come out here and see the grunions. And I think a lot of times when they do see something like that, it's not the ocean any longer. It's more. This is maybe where the grunion lives, which is something unusual. It gives you a better feeling and a better understanding about the whole ocean environment. I think that's very important.
Well, it is unusual, and it is something that is specific to California, too, isn't it?
Southern California. They don't have it up north. We have it down here, and these are our fish. Yes.
You sound very proprietary about
I am.
this.
I definitely am, because this is something very unusual. And you think about it, it's right here in your backyard. Think about this, right here. I mean, you don't have to go miles. It's real close, and we have them.
She's getting ready to lay her eggs right now. She's moving from side to side, and there she goes. She's laid her eggs. Our next adventure started out in broad daylight. In fact, it was early in the morning as we arrived at one of the most spectacular scenic areas in our state, a little-known place in central California called Carrizo Plain Natural Area, a 180,000-acre reserve administered by the Bureau of Land Management and others to preserve the best remaining example of the historic ecosystem of the San Joaquin Valley. Now, I really didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't disappointed. Beautiful wildflowers covering the hillsides, huge mountains off in the distance, and wide-open plains that seemed to go on and on forever. And most importantly, no traffic, no noise, no pollution, no people, just miles and miles of natural beauty. Now, we were visiting Carrizo Plain at the invitation of Moose Peterson, one of our state's best-known wildlife photographers, who wanted to share the beauty of this place with us and also introduce us to an endangered animal, which calls this place home. More on that later. First things first, we arrived at our predetermined meeting point right on time. And I not only met Moose, but also his wife Sharon and their two boys, Brent and Jake. And off we all went for a quick orientation tour.
This is basically the last remnant California has of their natural prairie, which definitely includes things like the alkaline lakes and the marshes, the grasslands.
So this is prairie?
This is prairie.
Because I always thought of prairie as being kind of a, I don't know,
Up to your nose in brown grasses?
yeah, something like that.
Well, this is pretty much, it's modified. It's not how it was historically. You can go back, there's a newspaper account from 1850. A guy from San Luis Tribune who came out here on his horse, talks about seeing the pronghorn and the tule elk and having grasses to the top of his horse saddle. So that's how it was, 150 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not the same as a true prairie, but this is the last remnant we have. And it's going back to, as you can see, what it used to be.
This is the last true prairie in California?
Yeah. 150 years ago, it's possible you could have come through here and seen pronghorn, tule elk. They could have been shadowed by gray wolf or grizzly bear, all trying to find an easy meal.
There would have been grizzly bears out here?
Grizzly Adams killed some just over here on the other side of the mountain. It's not more than 5 miles from us.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what's out here now? What kind of animals are out here now?
Well, the pronghorn have been reintroduced. The tule elk have been reintroduced. The endangered San Joaquin kit fox, the threatened San Joaquin Antelope squirrel, the giant kangaroo rat, and the blunt-nosed leopard lizard. They're all out here. This is their last refuge, basically.
The what kind of lizard?
Blunt-nosed leopard lizard.
Blunt-nosed leopard lizard.
Good-looking lizard, too.
Are they out here now? We
Yeah.
just don't see them?
We passed one up by the cars.
But we passed a blunt-nosed leopard lizard? Why didn't you point it out to me?
Faster than I can say it, he was gone.
Oh, they're fast.
He's very fast.
Now look, we've gathered some wildflowers here. How nice. Look at this. Oh, that's great. Ah, the good old tumbleweed. This is a big one, too.
You know, most people don't know that this famous weed of the Westerns actually was brought to the United States. It's not a native. So all those Westerns that show the tumbleweed going across the prairie, well, you could call it a old-time nature fake.
What do you mean? Tumbleweed is not... Where did tumbleweed come from?
From Europe, the Mediterranean.
Tumbleweed is from Europe?
In fact, we have over 600 species of plants in California thriving here that weren't originally here.
I mean, I can't believe that. I mean, I've never seen a picture of tumbleweed in Europe. All I've ever seen is tumbleweed out west.
Well, you know that...
What, they brought it all over here?
That mangy fur of a cattle, this feel those spikes? Those are seeds. And the cattle brought over in their hides a lot of these species.
Oh, so the cattle brought over from Europe brought the seeds from the tumbleweed with them.
Yep.
And that's how they got out west.
That's one of the basic ways, yeah. This is an interesting lake. It's one of the very last few examples that we have in California of this kind of alkaline lake.
Alkaline lake.
See all this white stuff?
Yeah.
This is a residue left over from when the waters evaporate.
Now, wait a minute, I'm sinking down in this a little bit too.
Oh, we'll sink the more we go, the deeper we'll get. It's about a foot thick.
This alkaline is a foot thick?
Mm-hmm. But what looks like barren white nothing is actually a very vital resource to a lot of shorebirds and the lesser sandhill crane, which come here to winter.
So the cranes come here in the wintertime?
Mm-hmm. This vast body of lake, which is Soda Lake, is no more than 2 or 3 feet deep, all the way up. And they need this very shallow water for a safe roost. They go to the nearby fields to actually feed. It's out here in Soda Lake that they spend their mornings, afternoon siestas, and evenings.
So this is called Soda Lake because of all this alkaline?
Yep.
Because
Exactly.
I thought when we were driving up, it almost looked like salt here. Are there many lakes like this in California?
Used to be. One of them was 33 miles long. It's long been dried up and turned into farmland. Everything you see will probably be gone by August. And the amazing thing is that this has no creeks. It's all gone from evaporation. Just right back in the sky, where it came from.
So this lake is here for a couple of months and then it disappears and then it comes back again?
Now, that's only when we have good rains. During the drought, there was no Soda Lake, with water in it at least. Just a big white body of alkali dust.
Well, we spent most of the morning walking around the lake and walking through the wildflowers. Huge fields of wildflowers, some of the prettiest I've ever seen. And the air crisp and fresh and clean. But our adventure was just beginning, because next we met up with Roy Vanderhook from the Bureau of Land Management, who took us by caravan about 10 miles down a dusty road to this place he said he wanted to show us. It was a huge rock sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Now, even from a distance, this rock caught your eye. You knew it was special. But once we got right up to it, and in fact went inside it, we found out firsthand this rock was a real treasure.
This is Painted Rock, a very sacred spiritual place that the Chumash Indians came to hundreds and thousands of years ago. And as you walk into here, you'll see rock paintings from 3 different tribal Indian groups that go back in time.
And that's the original paint that was
the
used
original paint.
how many years ago?
That could be up to 2,000 years old.
Let's take a look at this. This, it looks like it was just put on there yesterday.
Yes.
And that's paint. That's not carved into the rock at all.
It's not carved. That's painted, and to rock art specialists and archaeologists, that makes it a pictograph. If it's carved, it's a petroglyph.
So these are all pictographs.
Correct.
Here. Let's look at some more. This is amazing.
Oh, it's an excellent one.
Isn't this?
There's more all the way
Down
through.
low, you can see several patterns.
Oh, look. Look, all of this. Here are the patterns right here. And that's all original stuff.
That's all original.
Have they figured out how paint could last that long?
Well, they've done some chemical tests in that, and apparently there's a sulfate coverings of like a salt that covers it and helps to protect it. The paint itself was made of basically red paint had hematite, which is a natural mineral that you can find in the rocks called ochre, and they would mix that with fats or oils of birds or plants to make it into a fixer. So they
knew how to make paint. Yes. Look at this now look at this. All right. Oh, wow. Oh, God. Oh.
This has been nicknamed by some the Carrizo panel, and it's over 90 feet long as one continuous painting. And there's overlays done through time. We know that it was the first parts of this may have been painted 2,000 years ago, and then successive centuries would pass and it would be overlaid, reinforced, and all part of a very sacred spiritual, this was a church, and this was probably meant for groups of Chumash worshiping nature and the coming of spring or fall, their gods, their mythology, the sky world and the earth world.
What is this?
This is another pictograph. As you can see, it was done in two colors, red and black. And again, it's probably at least 300 or 400 years old, and maybe as old as 1,500 to 2,000 years old.
And out here in the open like this, the colors haven't disappeared at all.
That's right.
Wow. Do we know what any of this means?
We have some interpretations, but we should leave it to the Chumash and the Yokuts Indians, the Native Americans. And it's really important and spiritual to them, and I want everybody to be especially careful in making interpretations and being sensitive to those peoples.
Yeah.
They still come here and do ceremonies and visit Painted Rock.
So this was and still is a holy place.
Absolutely.
Well, after spending a wonderful afternoon at Painted Rock, we met up with Dan Williams and Dave Germano from the faculty of Cal State Stanislaus, who were to take us on our final Carrizo Plain adventure, a search for a little animal on the endangered species list that lives on the plain, the kangaroo rat. Now, I've never even heard of the kangaroo rat before, but I quickly learned they're smart little animals.
Well, what the rats do on these precincts, the areas where they spend most of their time, is this tall vegetation they'll end up chewing down as it's starting to mature and dry out. And so they've started that right here. They've actually chewed through the stems of the plants, and they're starting to create a bare area.
So they just mow it down themselves?
They'll mow it down.
Why? Is this to eat or?
Well, as we talked about with their hearing, eyesight is also very good, and they need the ability to be able to see predators coming at them. And so they have to
cutting the grass down to see.
Exactly. The areas here are really get much too thick with plant material for them, for kangaroo rats.
That is amazing to think of a rat being smart enough to. I mean, I'm sorry. Am I underestimating
that's just the beginning of what they
Sure.
do. They'll the stuff they eat here, they'll cut the seed heads off just as they ripen before the seeds fall on the ground, so they don't have to pick them up. They'll cut those seed heads and they'll put them in piles, and they'll make big haystacks here, sometimes several feet across and 5-6 inches high. And they'll just be packed with thousands and thousands of seed heads. And they'll let that cure in the sun for about 6 weeks, and then they take it underground.
Really? So these are very intelligent animals.
Well, these are very well-adapted animals, right? Whether intelligence is kind of a subjective human way of looking at it, but they're well-adapted to their life out here in this very arid area.
So after baiting the traps with seed and standing around waiting for it to get dark, which is when the little critters come out, it was finally time to see a kangaroo rat. Okay, we're at our first trap, and the door is closed. So there's a rat in there?
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You can tell just by the
Must
weight.
be an old pro. He's not knocking at the door or anything. He's just waiting for waiting.
So
to be
you
let
put him
out.
in the bag first.
Right.
Boys, have you ever seen a kangaroo rat?
Yeah, you've seen one. Oops. Some of them like to go up, and some of them like to go down to get out. Come on. There we go.
Is he a big one?
Yeah, this is a giant.
Now, do you know whether you've already tagged him or?
I'll find out in just a second here. And this is the nice thing about the electronic tag that we use, is that once we've marked an animal, we don't have to handle it nearly as much.
So you're scanning, and if you put the little tag in there earlier, it's...
Yeah, there's the tag.
Okay, so you've already ID'd him.
Right, and this is, I'm going to have to get some light here. This, after a while you memorize these guys. This is 7F, 7F, 445E50.
Well, that means something to you, but I want to see this thing. I've been walking around all night waiting to see this. Louis, come on in here. Let's see this thing.
Later. Yeah, I was just joking. I think here a little bit. Okay.
Oh. Oh, look at him. He's not even trying to get away.
Put your hand on here.
I can put my hand out?
Just as long as it has something to step on.
Look at their eyes. They've got big eyes, don't they?
Yeah, they are large.
There it goes.
Hey, watch it.
There it goes. It's looking for its burrow. There he went. So we've had a very successful night tonight. We have found actually 3 kangaroo rats. And actually this has been a very successful day. It's been a wonderful day. We've learned a lot about California's gold. We want to invite all of you to join us again next time as we continue our search together. Well, it's late at night. Now we're going back to Los Angeles, and you all still got...
We got about 4 or 5 more hours of taking rats out of traps.
Well, have fun. We got all we needed for the program. We're going to go home, all right? Enjoyed it. It's just been great. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Goodbye, boys. Goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah, it's been
Bye-bye.
fun. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Goodbye. California's gold is provided to the PBS network statewide through a grant from Wells Fargo Bank, coming through for Californians for over 135 years.
Hi, this is Huell Howser, and if you enjoyed this episode of California's Gold and would like to see it again or share it with your family and friends, all you have to do is call 1-800-266-KPBS, and we'll send you a copy right away.
Tonight on KPBS, travel to beautiful Sydney, Australia when Al Roker hosts Going Places at 8. Then at 9, Derek Jacobi returns as a sleuthing friar in a new season of Mysteries with Brother Cadfile. Also at 10:30, enjoy more mystery with 2 episodes of Inspector Morse, followed by Charlie Rose at 12:30. From San Diego State University.